Well, hello, boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 7, entitled The Red Sewing. And boy, was it. This is the penultimate episode of the season. And in case you don't know what that means, it's the second to last episode before the season finale of season 2 to House of the Dragon. So there's a lot that needed to be addressed in this episode. This is normally the point in a season where we see the crescendo of a lot of questions that was raised up throughout the season start to come on the precipice of an answer. You know, right on the cuff of an answer that we're going to get in the season finale. I can honestly say that that didn't happen in this episode, but I was thoroughly entertained, and it is a welcomed improvement over last week's episode. I must say, as much as I liked, and I put that in heavy quotations, liked last week's episode, it was very slow. Last week's episode was very slow, talky. When you hear talky episodes, people describe it, man, it was just a talky episode. That was episode 6. That was last week. But this week, we got a little more action to a degree. I mean, it wasn't fighting and people getting their heads cut off, even though there was a pretty big cookout at the end of this episode that was super exciting and super intense. There was quite a bit that went on in this episode, but we're not going to go over it all. I kind of took notes, I think last week or the week before last when I was doing the review. I pretty much went beat by beat all through the episode, and I was killing myself going. I was wrecking my brain doing that. So I'm just going to go off of the big notes, you know, the big things that took place in this episode, and there were a few. We started off hot. I mean, this episode literally started off intense, and I thought this was a very low-key intense scene, and we pick up right where we left off last episode, where Rhaenyra flies off on her dragon to go see who was riding Sea Smoke. Who was that on the dragon? So we pick up and you see the two dragons on the shore of a beach, which was a beautifully shot. This was a beautifully shot episode of House of the Dragon. I didn't catch who directed this episode, but they did a marvelous job throughout the episode. I just want to throw that out now. But it was beautifully shot with these two dragons facing each other, and you see Rhaenyra gets off of hers and she's facing off at Adam, I believe his name. Adam, who is standing in front of his, and it's this very tense moment where Rhaenyra is walking up to Adam, and her dragon is kind of creeping up behind her too, mimicking her motions up to it, but you hear Sea Smoke in the background just snarling and like, look, don't come too close now. Don't, you can talk, but don't do anything crazy. They're very protective of their riders, and that's awesome to see. But that was a cool, tense scene, and my God, bro, the work that Emily Darcy is doing in this show, I was about to say episode, but show altogether, is amazing. I love her portrayal of Rhaenyra. She is so phenomenal, or they are so phenomenal in this show, because they do a good job. What good? Scratch that. Great job of emoting, saying a ton, like a whole page of dialogue just on their face, and it's amazing. Not too many actors can do that. It's not easy. You know, everybody thinks they can act, but they can't. It's not that easy, and that's why they get paid the big bucks. But they do a great job here. And I love it. I love her performance. Adam, he doesn't want the smoke. Literally, he immediately bends the knee. He's like, "Look, the dragon chose me. I was minding my own business. I was chilling out. He, the dragon came to me. So this ain't nothing crazy. So of course this excites Renera, because that's what they're looking for, dragon riders, and we're gonna see a little later on in this episode. Uh, yeah, her her quest for dragon riders, what she's willing to go through, and what the people are willing to go through. Of course, we saw it last week with Sir Stefan gets barbecued as he thought he had it in the bag to be a dragon rider, but not quite. But that was an awesome scene. The scene with Laris and I forgot the other character's name, but they were discussing this dragon rider. They were discussing Sea Smoke had found a rider. Well, who is the rider? Who is this? Nobody knows who they are. And Laris Strong is like, look, don't even worry about it. We're not even gonna speculate. We're not even gonna start the rumors or nothing. We're not gonna worry about it. He brushes it off, which I think is gonna be his biggest mistake. By not addressing it, by not giving it his proper attention, and that pretty much actually that's pretty much what led up to the end of this episode because of their lack of caring. That Sea Smoke found a rider. Now, two other dragons have found a rider, and by the end of this episode, who are on Renera's side, and they pretty much got the upper hand. But anywho's, you have that. The other scene that really I just cracked up in this. I cracked up in it when we had Lord Oscar, uh, who's a little kid and meets up with Damon, and you know uh, he pledged his alliance with him and whatnot. But in pledging his alliance with him, because Damon think he's a kid, he can just push over, he can kind of get the upper hand on him. Because he's green, he's wet behind the ears, he doesn't know much about being a lord and all this here. And the kid flipped it on him. I mean, he really flipped it on him and had Damon pretty much on the screen, man. He had him on a leash, just pulling it, tugging at it. He humbled him. He literally humbled Damon. And he was like, what was the line? He called Damon a prince. And Damon got mad. He's like, watch your tongue. He was like, watch your tongue. And, had his hand on his sword or whatever. And the kid, Oscar, he walks up to him and he's like, you want my army or not? It was like, you need me. I don't need you. You need me. That's basically what he told Damon. And Damon couldn't say a word. And I couldn't do nothing. My jaw literally dropped. I was like, oh my God, somebody really, they got him. They got Damon. And it was a kid nonetheless. That's what made it even more satisfying. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you can see the wheels turning in Damon's head. Like, look, I'm trying to play this game because he has a vision after that incident where he sees his brother yet again, Viserys. And Viserys is telling him, like, he never wanted the crown. I never wanted this. It caused so much death. It caused so much pain, I didn't want this. This wasn't me. But you did. You wanted this. Didn't you? And he's staring at the crown. And it's like tearing him up inside because, yeah, that's all he ever wanted. That was the whole point. Damon feels he should be the king, but he was passed over and twice. And so he is butthurt about that, and he wants the crown by any means necessary. And to hear this, whether it's a vision or not, to hear this from Viserys is like the biggest kick to the groin you can get. And I think that's going to fuel Damon going forward to turn on Rhaenyra. So that you have that opened up, that wound opened up. Speaking of wound, we see that Aegon, who is, and I must say this, who is the most I feel so sorry for Aegon because Aegon was thrown into all this. Aegon, obviously, he was not meant to be the king. That's obvious. But the thing is, he got thrown into this. He got thrown into this world of intrigue because I stated in a previous episode that he really tried to be a good guy, a good king, a king for the people. But his grandfather and his mother were bending him to their will, and so he turned into this snobby little punk, for lack of a better term. And he got showed up at the council, by his brother, and he felt he had to show that he's a king, that he's the man, hops on his dragon and get roasted like some Popeye's chicken and survives. And I really got some respect from Aegon because he survived. Because we see later on in this, we've seen it in previous either Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon episodes where people get roasted and that's a wrap. Once the dragon hits you with that's a wrap. He survived. And I gotta give him his props for that. This snobby little whiny baby of a man, so-called man, survived Dragonfire. And I think Larys tells him that in this episode. But well, not those exact words, but tells him he survives, that he's stronger than what he thinks he is. Yeah, I just feel sorry for him, man. I really do. I just feel sorry for him. I don't know why. I just felt the need to express that. Even though he's on the wrong side. But I think he was thrown into it. That's my whole point. And he's suffering more than anybody else. Think about, not only did he get burnt up, his dragon got killed. He got overruled or pretty much impeached from the kingship. His son got his head cut off, little baby got his head cut off and all this. I mean, the dude been through a lot. And even now, you have Larys trying to, I guess, coach him up to health, push him to be a healthy king so he can get back empowered for Larys' sake. So he can get some power because he tried it with Aemon and that didn't go. That didn't work. Aegon is not Aegon. Aemon is not having it. He's smarter than that, and so he's basically on the outside looking in, and his only way in is Aegon, and so he has to nurse him back to health in some sorts. But it's killing the boy. I mean, golly, man, I feel sorry for him. They're trying to get him to walk and move around and all this here, and he's in just excruciating pain. And it stinks, man. But moving on, Rhaenyra sends word from Dragonstone. She's looking for dragon riders. She's been whoa. I'm going too fast. I missed one major scene another one that was a long time coming, and that was Jacaerys confronting his mother. Finally, somebody says the quiet part out loud. He confronts her and asks her straight up, "Did you think my hair was gonna come out dark like that?" And she tries to shoo him off with it, but he's like, "I'm not a fool. I mean, come on, I know who my father was," and it was like somebody finally called it out. The last person that called it out got his head chopped off in season 1, but that's neither here nor there. But he finally did it, and it really showed his strength, and it really brought Rhaenyra to this come to Jesus moment, to really confess but not so much confess, but come to terms with what actually is the truth here. But anywho's, being inspired by Adam being chosen by Sea Smoke, she sends out word for anybody with this bloodline that can ride a dragon. Meanwhile, we have Allison who has drifted off into the wilderness somewhere and going through baptisms and all this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what she's doing right now, purifying herself in Lake Mangatanga or whatever. That's an old Prince reference if you wonder. But anywho's, I don't know what's up with Allison. I think she's to a wit's end. She has basically uh, lost her family. Everything has fell apart. Her world has fallen apart around her. So she's soul searching right now. Poor woman. I kind of feel bad for her, but at the same time, she brought it on herself. And so we get these recruits, if you will, who come to Dragonstone to try to claim a dragon. And it was an interesting scene, a powerful scene by Emily Darcy. As once again, it sounded like a broken record, but it's the truth. I love that speech that she gave it before they went out to try to claim the dragon. It had me wanting to walk out there, and I know better. And so that was a cool little scene. And then we get to the cookout where you had all the people. I don't understand the picking process, but they need to reevaluate how these dragons pick their riders because, oh my God, all those people got roasted. This was about 20, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes long. I didn't time it, but it was I'm like, man, this is brutal. That dragon, what was it called? Vermithor? Boy, he wasn't playing, bro. He wasn't playing. He roasted. If he wasn't roasting you, he was eating you. If he was eating you, you probably being eaten while you was roasted as well. I mean, it was brutal. It was brutal. And I'm sitting there like, why? Why? But finally, the dragon chose. And it's none other than Hugh the Hammer. And that wasn't a shock. You know, they've been setting that up all season. I figured he was going to tame the dragon, but went through so many. Went through so many to get him. But that was cool. The other gentleman, I can't think of his name. I am blanking. He got chosen by the other dragon. And so now Rhaenyra has all of the dragons with a rider. Now she has the upper hand. So going forward, this is going to be very, very interesting. This last episode of the season, I don't know what's in store. I don't know how this is going to go. Rhaenyra has one way of thinking. She is truly thinking with her having the upper hand, she can end this quote unquote war without bloodshed. And I don't see that happen. If anything, more blood will be shed here. I think this is going to be a brutal end or beginning, I should say, to this war because we really haven't gotten it kicked off yet. They're playing chess and the pieces aren't quite lined up yet. We're getting closer to some pawns being knocked off the board, but right now we haven't even started. We haven't even begun to really get this party started, if you will. But yes, a very exciting episode. Not action in the traditional sense, but it was some action here with the dragons. But the story, everything that went on in this episode was super exciting. This was a very tense episode. I'm telling you, I was sitting there, I was really like butt cheek clenched up the whole episode because I don't know what's gonna happen. It was setting up so much to go forward, and this is going to be an exciting season finale, I believe. But I've been wrong before. I would like to know, what did you think of this episode 7 of House of the Dragon? Are you excited? for what comes next in the season finale next week. I know I am. I am super excited, can't wait, pumped up, and everything else. But I want to know what you think. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube and like this video if you don't mind. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 7, The Red Sewing. One more episode to go. I can't wait. Oh man, I got goosebumps running up my spine. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.